But most of it is like, do you care what people are saying when they talk to you? Are you like, did you pack a lunch so you're not going to be hangry at the end of the day? Are you listening when people have like a need or they expressed an interest? Or yeah, it's not all like customer service. It comes back to just being curious. And I think that if you're doing everything for the clients, if you're doing this from a place of service, then it's irreplicable.
Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. This is your host, Becky, and you are listening to episode 52 today. And I am excited to introduce you to Cody McDonald, the creative force behind Mac Wedding Films. Cody is a talented wedding filmmaker based in the Portland, Oregon area, known for creating deeply personal and timeless wedding films that are truly one of a kind. With a background in accounting and a journey that began with an impulsive camera purchase in 2014, Cody brings a unique blend of organization, creativity, and heart to his work, making his couples feel seen, known, and celebrated. In our conversation, we dive into staying creatively inspired after nearly a decade in the industry, how he stays true to a timeless style while still serving today's couples, and why showing up with curiosity and care makes all the difference. We also chat about vendor relationships, avoiding burnout, and how to build a business that reflects your values. It's an insightful and honest conversation you won't want to miss. So let's dive right in. Hey, Cody, welcome to the show. I am super excited to chat with you today. But before we get into everything, I would love it if you could just introduce yourself to my listeners and give a little insight into your background in the wedding industry and anything you want to share that led you to where you are today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Becky. Good to chat again. I'm a wedding videographer in the Pacific Northwest area. I'm based out of the Portland metro area. And I kind of have been in this space for I think I moved to Portland in 2018, and I had been filming weddings 3 or 4 years before then. And so I'm coming up on the decade mark, and I'm just kind of loving it here. It's a happy spot. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to work together last summer, which was awesome. That's how we met initially, was doing a wedding together. And since then, yeah, we got to chat another time. It almost felt like you were interviewing me for a podcast. We did a little video chat, which was super fun. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to have you on my podcast because I just feel like you have a lot of great insight to share. And so, yeah, I'm excited to get into a few different things today.
Yeah, that is so funny. I think that on our last chat, I mean, when we met, I told you this, but on our last chat, I was like, I need to know as much of what Becky knows as possible. And so when we finally got on that call, I was just like, I felt like I was grilling you, but I was like, I had so many questions about your take on so many different things. And so it's funny to be in this seat.
Yeah, no, it was super fun. It was a really great conversation. And I'm sure that today will be no different. Okay, so like you said, you've been in the industry for almost a decade, which is amazing. And do you find that the creativity comes really naturally to you? Or is there anything that you do to like stay creatively inspired and just so you're not, hitting burnout in that area? Weddings in general can be really pressure filled, emotional, all of the things. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I'm just curious if there's anything that you do to stay creatively inspired despite all of that.
Yeah, that's so funny. I think that a lot of people tend to think of wedding vendors as these like very jaded people who are like in the service industry. And I think, frankly, like I might not be the best person to give any advice on this, but like I just find that every single client, every single couple, they are bringing something entirely unique. And so it's not really hard for me to avoid burnout in this space just because I'm making a new set of friends for like this 2 year to 18-month period from when they book until we deliver their video where I'm just learning about new people the whole time. And I don't know. I think that I think our market is unique in this way where all of the wedding industry, like almost every single person that works in the wedding industry is so kind and so gracious. There's a killer community here in like the Portland area. And personally, I know that like, it's just really easy for me to show up. Like, I feel like I'm getting invited every single project I work on. And every time I like meet a new vendor and every time I go to a new wedding, it's like, I'm invited, I'm wanted there. And so, yeah, to answer the question, I don't super get burnt out. But that has nothing to do with what I'm doing or what I'm actively trying to do to keep up with that.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, though. I mean, I know that not everybody has that, but just to be part of such an incredible community there in Portland, and I know we have very similar amazing community here in Eugene, and I mean, it does play a huge part in one's ability to like just keep going and not get burnt out. So I think we are very fortunate to have that, because I know it's not like that everywhere. And I loved what you said about like with each new couple, it's like, you know, making this new set of friends each time and just being, you know, such a big part of their day. I just completely agree. Just like getting to know them. It's such a cool thing that we get to do and like such a neat relationship that we get to form with our couples. And I don't know, I feel the same way because every wedding is so different. And it's not like, I don't know, I just think of other jobs where people are just, every day is kind of the same. And in the wedding industry, at least from my experience, like every day of my week looks completely different. Like it's not just the same monotonous thing every day. Yes. And I think that helps a lot with avoiding the burnout and, you know, staying inspired and everything.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that I notice people burning out on is the business end of it. And like if you spend all of your time, this is probably not a great example, but if you spend all of your time networking and building these B2B relationships to better serve the business, instead of using your time like actually doing the work that you want to do. I heard somebody recently say like keep your eye on the ball. So like if you do stationery or if you do calligraphy, do that work. Like don't worry about what platform is best to showcase your work on. Like get it onto the platform that's convenient for you to get back to doing the thing that you actually wanted to do. I know that when I'm training second shooters, I get a lot of questions about like gear and business. And I think that when people are starting off in this industry and they're looking to scale, a lot of their focus is on industry and business and like growth. And what I feel I am often repeating myself at saying is like, just listen to the room that you're in, man. Like if you're trying to shoot better wedding videos, if you're trying to do better work, do better work. Like listen to the people who you're filming the wedding for, do something extremely personal to them with all the time and the information that they're generous enough to give you. And then when it's time to do the next thing, do that next thing in like a really personal and genuine way.
Yeah, definitely. That is excellent advice. When I was looking at your website earlier, I was noticing you were talking about how each wedding film is like so individualized to that couple. And like your approach just seems very, I guess, individualized. Can you share a little bit about your approach to wedding videography and how it might differ from other videographers?
Totally. I think that thankfully my approach to individuality is something that people have been asking for a lot longer than I've been around. I think one of the things that I try to do that I don't see as many people doing is just focusing on like truly timeless content. Like I don't know how I lucked out this way, but I think that for whatever reason, my wedding films from 8-9 years ago, like the quality is definitely not the same, but stylistically they hold up. And so, and as I've aged as a vendor, I think that's something that I'm really proud of myself for is if somebody books a wedding with me, their wedding film is not going to feel of like, if we shoot a wedding this year, it's not going to feel of 2025. It's going to feel of that couple. And I'm sure that technologically it might feel dated, but stylistically, like I'm not really seeking to find the trends that are going to make me sell well right now. I think that something I try to do and something that I feel proud of is that my work genuinely feels a little bit timeless.
That's really cool. And I think that is, from my perspective, I think that is a bit rare, just because I feel like when I'm looking at kind of older wedding films, like a lot of times you can tell what era it's from. And maybe it's, it has to do with like the attire and things too. So not necessarily, it's not always going to be like how it's filmed, but the trends, I'm sure I notice it more in like photography, more so than videography.
Totally.
But there's like, just the way that people kind of edit and like color their photos. Like there's definitely things that have been, trendy, like the dark and moody, we had that for a while. And so I feel like with that, it's like, well, you can kind of look at that and know like what era it was. So I think being able to have these wedding films that are timeless, I mean, one for your couples, like that's incredible because they're hopefully going to be looking back on it year after year, and for them to be able to really have something that's timeless and that they're not going to be like, oh, I wish we would have gone with something less trendy or whatever. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think, there are people who don't seek that too, right? Like there are people who are looking for videographers and content creators across every platform, but they're looking for people who are going to keep up and that are going to like be doing the thing that's hot right now or see it before their clients see it. And I think I just clocked really early on, like that's not my biggest strength. And when I'm listening to people, that's not the thing that I feel like I'm going to be able to like over deliver on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it's awesome that you were able to kind of figure that out early on. I think some people spend a lot of time trying to like keep up with trends before they kind of figure out like what works for them. And so the fact that you were able to figure that out pretty early on and also that like the couples that are coming to you are, seeking that. Yeah, that's great. So another question I have for you, what would you say are some of the most challenging aspects of wedding filmmaking and videography? And then conversely, this can be two separate questions, but what also are some moments that just make it all worthwhile for you, despite the challenges?
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out to me when it's really worth it is that whole wedding day that I'm there. I go back to this feeling of being invited. Like I have never done something in my life where I feel so not at work when I'm working. And so when I'm at the wedding and I've gotten to know my couple for, a year and a half to a year, and then their wedding comes up and I'm there and I like know what jokes they're going to laugh at and they know what jokes I'm going to laugh at. And I'm like meeting these people who are in these stories that I've heard for the last 18 months. That feels like I'm getting away with something. It's like a really good feeling. And I know that you have that relationship with your clients. Like I've seen it firsthand. They treasure you and they want an excuse to spend more time with you. I know when I was saying goodbye to Laura and Connor, we were talking about how great you were, and they were saying that they were sad that they met you through wedding planning because now there's like almost a finish line on your relationship. Like there's almost this time where like they have to say goodbye. And so I think honestly that is probably the hardest thing. Like I think you and I know that's kind of the toughest thing about this job is you get to know your clients and some people become friends. That's not like what I ask of my clients. I would never like, I am there as a professional, but some people do become your friends. But for a lot of folks, you give a lot of yourself and you learn a lot about people, and then you say goodbye at the end. They move to another country, or they've been waiting to finish up their wedding to finally go get that house, and then they are in a different state or whatever. There's a yeah, there's a social and geographical isolation after that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tough. I also think that like this is something that's not talked about a ton, but it's hard on your body. Like it is physical work to be at a wedding and to do that 40, 50 times a year. You kind of have to stay on top of it in your personal life just to meet that job where it's at. I know that it's not construction, it's not logging. It's close to bartending. Like you are on your feet, your back hurts. I mean, depending on who you are, like you, Becky, you're carrying in boxes of decorations. I'm wheeling in carts of gear. I'm climbing up on things to help people set up light stands in places that they're not going to get picked up in the wedding video or in the photographer's photos. I'm, like helping coordinators move furniture because the venue asked something of somebody. You move and then you feel it when you get home. And so I think that in my 10th year, I'm placing a lot more emphasis on like, I've got a cushy chair in the office because it's good to my back, or like I have a smaller camera kit so that I could get in and get out and be more myself when I'm there on the day of.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I agree. I don't think it's talked about a ton, like just the physical exertion that we go through on a wedding day. I mean, on your feet for hours and hours and hours. I mean, for me, it could be like 12, 13, 14 hours, like on my feet. Like we rarely sit down. I will sit down to eat a meal quickly. And that's like pretty much the only time I'm sitting on a wedding day.
Like how many times have you been at a vendor table and 7 people sit down and collectively sigh? And then you watch, this is where I notice it most, is like we've been sitting there 10, 15 minutes and then you watch a vendor who just got ready for dinner and then they sit down and you could see the energy difference between like the person who just got there and the person who's had like 15 minutes to sit. The relief is palpable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've seen that for sure. Okay, well, you have a background in accounting, is that right?
That's right.
So from your accounting days, like, is there anything that you took from that job you have brought into your videography business?
Yes. Yeah. I worked at like a mid-sized family accounting firm when I was in college, and I went to college for accounting. And I think there I just developed a sense of like controlling the controllables and then rolling with the rest. And it was mostly about controlling the controllables in that job, but I would get myself into places where, and this is like, I'm in my early 20s, right? At this accounting firm, just like trying to figure out where the front door is. But I would get myself into places where like I would start to categorize all these things that I was learning as like avoidable failures or things that just will happen. And so if you are dealing with something that just will happen, which is a lot of what happens to a wedding vendor throughout their scope of work, is you'll run into a lot of things that are just things that will happen. And you can't take a mindset of like this tight gripped, I have to fix this at a fundamental level. You just have to be like, okay, cool. We are here right now in this moment. What are all the ways that this plays out, and which one of those is my favorite, and how do we get there? But controlling the controllables is something that we also have a lot of control over. And I am an extremely organized person in my professional life. And I think that it affords me the ability to really deliver on the things that I care about. Like when I show up to a wedding, I don't have questions, right? Like I have asked every question. I have made it as easy as possible to allow somebody to get me the information that I need to get, or I have done everything I can to make sure that I have, every single cable that I've ever seen for every single DJ, and it's packed up in a very small portable bag so that when I do run into that audio hookup that is not common, I'm not thinking about it while I'm, fixing it. I am just doing it, thinking about things like, what does my wedding planner want from me in the next 30 minutes? Or I wonder if my bride has eaten like in the last 30 minutes. And so I think that if you're controlling the controllables, you find yourself a lot more present for the things that are for rolling with.
Yeah, I love that. I loved what you said about when I show up to a wedding, like I don't have questions, because I think that is just, well, I want to say like that all vendors are that way, but unfortunately there's a lot of vendors that show up on a wedding day and it's like immediately there's a million questions.
Yeah.
And so I just can tell like how much you prepare in advance and how you are just really thinking about everyone else and like their experience. And so I just think it's awesome that you said that, because if I could dream up a perfect wedding vendor, it would be someone who said, I show up and I don't have questions because I've done all the research in advance. I've listened, I've got all the information that was given to me from the planner or the couple or whoever.
Yeah. And you talked about like making things personal earlier. I think that when you are showing up to a situation that you can be prepared for, you get to bring curiosity to that room. Like you get to be really open to what's about to happen. And I feel especially grateful for being prepared when I show up and I'm working with like a world-class photographer and I get to genuinely just like listen to that person for 12 to 14 hours. Like I just get to be curious with that person and like explore why they do things or like pay attention to the way that they interact with their clients. And I don't know, have you worked with Catalina Jean before?
I have, but it's been a very long time. It was actually pretty early on in my career. We did a wedding on the coast together. That was beautiful, amazing. Like to this day, like one of my favorite clients ever. She was fantastic. But it was a long time ago, probably like 10 years ago. I don't know.
I worked with Catalina about 9 years and we're working together this year. And I am so excited to come to that like 9 years later and be like, okay, now that I know what language you're speaking, what are you doing? Because I've looked up to this person since I knew they existed. And then now I get to like bring something and offer something to them, like show up in that relationship and on that day and like genuinely support somebody that I'm excited to learn from.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Is there anybody like that for you? Somebody who, if you got to work with them, you would just be listening the whole time. Like you would just be, I don't want to say starstruck, but just curious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can think of like fellow planners. I'm sure there are other vendors too.
Can we talk about that though? How criminal it is that you never get to work with vendors in your own field?
I know. It's just not cool.
I think it's part of the reason that the wedding video industry can be so isolating is that I'm never going to work with another videographer. Like I might go second shoot for a videographer that I truly admire because it would mean that we get to spend time in the same room for 10 hours. But as far as your day-to-day work goes, like if you're only doing the work, if you're not spending a lot of time like putting yourself out there and donating your time to others, then you really don't get to work with people who could genuinely affect your specific practice. Not to say that like I don't meet vendors that change the way I work, because I have a checklist of things that I change about the way I work after every single wedding. Like I make little notes in my phone, and it's part of my backup process to just like document them, get them up in the world, look at them Monday morning, and then change things that I think I could do better. And if I could work with a different videographer, 50 times a year, I'd be 10 times the vendor that I am now. But for just the nature of the work means that you don't get to work with the vendor who shares your practice.
I know. Yeah, it's really not fair. I've been trying to find a way for me, and one of my closest friends is a planner in Southern Oregon. And like, we've been trying to figure out a way for us to like kind of swap like assisting at weddings, just so we can like, it's experience working together in that way. Cause yeah, I think it would be so valuable. Like we both, I think, have like a similar way of doing things, but also a very, very different approach in some aspects. And so like, I'm so curious to just see, how she runs a wedding day. Like, I think that would be really fun to see.
Yeah. When I was first getting started, I was working with a vendor, Tyler, a videographer. I was second shooting for Watertown Films, and he recently bought Watertown Films, which we both came up at. And I'm so eager to be spending time with him that like I'm gonna go second shoot for them like in the next year or two, because he essentially trained me. Like a decade ago, he trained me, and now he's in this position where he's running this wedding film company that I know does phenomenal work, and he's kind of the backbone of like why they did that work. And I don't know, you saying that is inspiring. Like I'm just gonna shoot him a text after this call and be like, hey, you come second shoot for me, I'll come second shoot for you. Let's spend some time together this year.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, here in Eugene, we have a local, community of planners. A lot of them are newer. And so I'm one of the most established planners in this area. And so some of them have gone through kind of like my internship program, where they started out like interning with me at weddings and then went on to start their own companies, which is super fun just to see and to be a part of all of that, and just to like get to watch them grow. And so I've brought some of them back on as like paid assistants. So they've got to come, last summer and like do a wedding with me. And it's super fun. I don't know. I really hold nothing back in terms of like, being worried about like
proprietary. Yeah. That's something that a lot of people are really cautious of, and then grow a lot less cautious of the longer they're in this industry. And again, it might be our region. It might not be like that in like, South Carolina. Like it might not be like that in Florida or New York, but we kind of don't have secrets. Like if you are working the way that we're working, where the focus is on the couple, nobody could steal your, I don't know, your magic, because you already did that wedding. Like they can't go back in time and do that wedding for you. And if you're just learning every single client as much as you possibly can, there's nothing really out there that you need to hide from other people. And so, I also just want to pause to say, I'd love you in that educator role. Like you're a person that I met and I was like, I got to learn what she has to say. And to hear that you're like doing that for people within your sector of the wedding vendor industry that's exciting for me to hear. I love hearing that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's been really incredible. I mean, it's very like fulfilling to me. Sure. And I mean, a lot of it stems from the fact that before I started my business, I interned with a local planner here in my market, and they took me under their wing and they just really gave me a fantastic start into what wedding planning is and what it entails and like the real behind the scenes. Because if you've never tried it, like you don't know until you're doing it. And a lot of people that have gone through my internship program realize like, oh, this isn't really what I thought it was. Like it's really hard work. And so then, but it's the kind of thing that like you just have to try it till you know. Anyways, so getting to go through that experience with Shelly and Heidi way back when, and just getting that experience. And then now, because of that, like it makes me want to give back and do the same thing for others. And I truly like everything that you said about, so much of it is like the person, like you can't replicate the personality and the personhood that is so much of what makes a business a business. Like, yes, there is so much behind that. There's the marketing and there's the systems and the processes and there's the experience that you're giving. Like there's so much. And yes, those things can be replicated more or less, but you can't replicate like the interactions that you have with the couple and, just the overall experience that you're giving them. Like you can't replicate that. And so that's where like, I just don't get worried about it. I'm like, I will literally tell you everything I know. Like I do not believe in gatekeeping in like any capacity. And so I love being able to share. And I love the wedding industry so much that like it's really fun for me. Like this podcast has been so fun for me because I just genuinely love like talking about all things wedding industry and just sharing. So
yeah. I think you touched on it. Like this job is 80% being a bartender and like 20% doing like the vendor part of the job. But most of it is like, do you care what people are saying when they talk to you? Are you like, did you pack a lunch so you're not going to be hangry at the end of the day? Are you like, are you listening when people have like a need or they expressed an interest? Or it's not all like customer service. it comes back to just being curious. And I think that if you're going into all these relationships, like I've seen you do firsthand, and I don't want to be reductive, but if you're doing everything for the clients, if you're doing this from a place of service, then it's irreplicable, and it's like, it's genuinely what they asked for in the first place. And so you're going to become better at the thing you're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I feel like this question kind of ties in with what we're already talking about, just in terms of like other vendors and working together and all of that. So are there any things that you wish other vendors knew about how videographers work and like what helps you do your best work? Is there anything that, I don't know, that you could share that would be helpful?
Yeah. I think that this is vendors, right? What vendors would like to know to make videographers' lives easier. That's so funny. I have a list of answers here, but I do think that videographers kind of need to be in a listening place right now. I don't think this is like really the time for videographers to be like, here's what we need. Because frankly, it's so much easier than it was 10 years ago. Like, we just need less. If you're prepared and you're kind and you're paying attention to the room that you're in, it could be a really easy day for a videographer. I have been more and more hearing stories about videographers really concerned with their production and not their service. And so I think the one that we hear a lot about is tripods in the aisle. Like, people putting tripods in the aisle are really, really focused on getting a great ceremony video, and they could be doing that from an extremely genuine place to the couple, but without like the curiosity and like taking a step back for a minute, you kind of realize that like your planner can't walk down that aisle and like ask the client's aunt to like put their iPad away, or you are blocking like every single version of the photographer's wide angle of the ceremony. And so your couple could have spent, I don't know, like in this industry, like over 30 grand for a specific view of the ceremony. And they're right for wanting that thing. And if what you're doing is like ultimately making sure that you have that captured in your wedding video, but failing to recognize that you're like blocking the photographer from also delivering that like very unique thing that was definitely part of their game plan for the day, you are getting in the way by trying to do something that was ultimately genuine. And so I think that right now there's a lot of those examples in the wedding video industry where people could stand to be a little bit less proficient at the technical end of this job and stand to do a lot better at being therapists, learning what a florist's job is, being cooperative with hair and makeup, making sure that you are where the wedding planner expects you to be. Yeah. And then like being big enough to adjust when you were wrong about some specific video thing, which is, I think, growth in any job, in any industry, is when you start to give up this idea of appearing great at your job and start to genuinely do things that make you great at your job. Yeah. One of the best examples I have of that is like, I used to put a mic on a mic stand, and because what that meant for me is that my toasts footage would be so much better. If I'm constraining people to a light stand, I can make sure that the light is always on them. I can make sure that they're always close to the mic, so my audio is better. And then I could also place a recorder on that mic. And the day I gave up on the mic stand was the day that I saw everybody's toasts get a lot more lax. And my solution was like this $4 latex karaoke mic sleeve that I just tucked my little audio recorder inside of. And then if the light wasn't on them, the light wasn't on them, but I didn't lose the toasts over it. And the moment I made that switch to being like, this is the way that I, as a proficient technical professional, know this should be done, to this is the way that this realistically would play out for everybody in the room. Like, once I stopped believing truths that I wanted to believe and started accepting the room I was in, all my toasts footage got beautiful and all my dialogue was impressive, and people felt so much more prepared to tell the story that they had been working on telling for 3 months while they were writing their speech, right? So I just got out of everybody else's way, and then it found its way back to me tenfold. And so, yeah, I there are certainly things that people could do to make videographers' lives easier. I don't know that like we need to go through and like ask them for it. Like, I don't think that that's not videographer's place right now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that perspective. I mean, I always like to ask because we all, obviously the wedding day, we're a team. And so just thinking through like, how can we be working together and just make everyone's lives easier? Because that's all that I want, out of what I bring to the table. I just want to make have a better experience for everybody involved. So I like to ask, but I think that's a totally fair response. And I loved your story about the toasts and just how that really made people feel like relaxed and ended up with just better toasts after that.
Yeah. When I was building my first website, I don't know, 8 years ago, I wrote this blurb down, like the fly on the wall that you can't stop talking to. And it was one of those things where I was just like trying to get copy down on the website so that I had something so that I could see how the shape looked. And then I happened to book a client within the window while I was still building out the website. And they were like, hey, we really, really clicked with this. Like, this is, we are not looking for an episode of like Keeping Up. Like, we want a wedding video that is not painful to be a part of. And it really clicked with me then. And I think that I've held on to that if you can be somebody that people enjoy being around on the wedding day, you're going to, of course, do much better work, but you're going to enjoy yourself more. Everybody's going to enjoy you more. And you're going to feel a lot less pressure to like over deliver on all of your insecurities.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds so simple. Like, just be enjoyable to be around.
Yeah.
But it is, it's so important. Okay. So another question I want to ask you, as we're kind of getting close to wrapping up. What is something that you think the wedding industry as a whole could be doing better? And how are you contributing to that change? So this is like, wedding industry as a whole. Do you have anything that you would say?
One of my peers, Morgan Harris, a planner in the Portland area, she was talking to me about somebody who came on their podcast and brought up this idea of like an ally pledge, like something that says like straight up, if you are going to be a hateful person, if you are going to be reductive in a way that does not align with the people that I'm trying to help, I'm not the vendor for you. And it really, really hit home with me because I was at the time not really presenting as a videographer who was safe for queer folks to work with. And I have since then taken this approach that if my beliefs are not right for a couple, I think that is an amazing thing to say out loud in capital letters right when you walk in the room. Like, if I'm trying to serve a group that somebody who may be interested in my work and wants to give me their money is actively working against like serving, I know that there are a lot of other people out there who could do a great job and take their money, and I just don't have to be one of them. And so I would say, like, stand on business, like do the thing that you believe in day in and day out, and then don't worry about how it affects your business. Worry about how you could do your work better to serve the people that you need to serve. So yeah, I think that I put an ally pledge like right there on the website. Like it's really hard to miss. You could get to it from any page on the website. And when you get there, I blatantly refuse to work with people who are going to make my queer couples feel unsafe. And I'm going to talk to vendors if they perform that way, or guests. I have I've ejected guests. I've talked to people about leaving the venue because they're behaving in a way that like legitimately didn't make my clients feel safe. And so I think it's a big swing. It feels scary to do, and you sleep with yourself at night.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that is, super important. I did see it. I saw your Ally Pledge on your website. Like you said, it's like right there. So yeah, no, I agree. I think that is fantastic. And I have certainly room for improvement in that area because I don't have anything currently on my website in that regard. So
sure. I think you definitely present in a space where people know that they're safe with you. Like you, I'm not saying that it has to come in the form of an Ally Pledge on a website, but you fly the flags to say, if you need to be safe in this way with your planner, I'm one of the planners that can do that for you.
Okay. Well, I mean, that is 100% true. And that is yes, but I am glad that you can see that and that comes across.
Yeah. I also think that it's a really healthy practice. Like consequentially, it ends up being really, really good for you to just say, I don't need to be for everybody. I think that statement alone is such a freeing thing. I personally like hold the mindset that I can only give my best to 40, 50 people a year. And there's 12,000 weddings in Portland alone every year. Like I just need 50. And so with that, once I clocked that, I realized like, oh, there's definitely 50 really cool people who want to work with me. How do I make sure that I'm showing up for them in a way where it's really hard for them to forget me if they bump into like my work or my website or my price point or something like that? Like, who are those people that I desperately want to work with? And then just do something so specific to meet their needs. And that, of course, doesn't work when you're trying to scale and you're trying to do 1,000 weddings a year in a market that has 12,000 weddings. But for me personally, I don't need that kind of growth, and it's a luxury that I have that I just get to find my people.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. Okay, I want to ask you just one final quick question. If you could just give like one piece of advice to a wedding professional for them to improve or up-level their business this year, what might you say to that person?
Okay. This is going to be, I don't do this well at all. Social media exists. Put yourself out there. Just do it. Like, it doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be on a schedule. Just exist there. Exist where your people are. Yeah, it's something that like actually eats up a lot of my, like, it's one of those things that you put off all week. And then you do it on Sunday afternoon and it took 15 minutes and you go, why did I stress about that all week?
Yeah.
Just do it a little bit. Like if you're posting a story a week or if you're batching content, whatever workflow works for you, but just exist on social media. Yeah. So I'm working on it myself. I am like making it palatable for me in a way. So I'm like finding ways that I feel are going to come across as like good quality and also really genuine to who I am as a vendor. So I'm not doing it every single day, day in and day out, but I'm thinking about it every day. And I know that it's like when we talked about earlier, like just keep your eye on the ball, like do the actual work. That's the actual work for me, is like, that's the thing that I keep trying to work myself around without actually getting done.
Yeah, well, it's a struggle for so many people. It's not just you. And I think that's really excellent advice. I like how you phrase it too, just exist in the place where your people are. And I feel like that takes the pressure off a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, just exist, just like show your work, show that you're out there doing the thing. And that alone is going to help people to find you and your people that we talked about earlier. So I think that is really great advice to end on. Yeah. So where can my listeners just find you on social media or your website, where can they find you and connect with you?
I'm at Mac Wedding Films everywhere, MAC, Wedding Films, plural, and macweddingfilms.com is my website. I am gonna do a better job for your listeners of existing in all those places. But yeah, that's where I'm at. It's mostly my website, YouTube, and Instagram for now, and we will see where I am in 3 months.
All right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Cody. This has been an awesome conversation. I feel like we went off on all these different directions and it was just super insightful and I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
We always have a good time.
Yes.
we chat. Yeah, look forward to seeing you some point this year, and thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Event Crushed podcast. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please consider sharing it with a wedding industry friend. We also hope you'll consider leaving a rating or review for the show to help other listeners find it. This podcast is edited and produced by Ace Sound Design. If you're looking to elevate your audio experience, their info can be found in the show description. As always, thank you for listening, and please connect with us on Instagram if you haven't already. Now get out there and crush it.